You can't just start going to a school. That's not how this ever works.
This is day 130 of the school year, and I don't know who. I've never seen that kid in my life.
No, I feel like I've never seen it. It's like, of course you've seen them. What, did this kid just start today? No, come on, it's
Don't be
February.
ridiculous. This would be crazy. Welcome to Talking to Tomatoes, the podcast where we talk about the Christian children's media we grew up on, not only for the quality, but for the pernicious propaganda behind it. My name is Eric Eberly.
And I'm Jubilee Alexander. Propaganda? I hardly know her.
Propaganda. Take a propaganda at those metrics.
Smooth recovery. Well, we're back to another Odyssey episode, and we found one that was very apropos for our upbringing, because it's one about homeschooling. And Eric and I were homeschooled from third grade to ninth grade.
Yes, third grade through ninth grade. With a
We didn't learn how to count, so who knows how long that was. But yeah, this episode's about homeschooling, and we're gonna go into that. But first, Eric, I got a question for you.
Yes.
What's made you happy this week?
Oh
What's
boy.
making you smile? What's
Um.
what's
So for Christmas,
what's imaginationing your station?
Oh, okay. I don't
Nope,
want to do
we'll
this
call
anymore.
it something else.
I build Dungeons and Dragons terrain. Like I play and run Dungeons and Dragons, and I build terrain for it. You know, make little for the video folks. Here's stone tiles. They're made out of this foam stuff. I've been doing this for a couple years, and for Christmas I got a airbrush, which is sort of a, I don't know, one of the upper tier in terms of like the complex pieces of machine that people who do this sort of thing, outside of like 3D printing, to do painting. I mean, it's the same airbrush people use for like makeup and things like that. But I sort of been, I don't know, struggling with it a little bit just because it's such a different. Like it's not just like because I paint miniatures with brushes. I use paintbrushes and sponges and things to do that. But this is like a completely new thing. So it's sort of like it feels like taking a step back trying to figure it out because I'm sitting there going, "Oh God, what's going on?"
I can imagine that.
As I'm trying to do it. And just this week, I was like, okay, time to sit down and actually like paint not just a big, glumpy, glorpy piece of like something that looks like supposed to look like dirt in the end, so it kind of doesn't matter how bad it is, but like a miniature, a little monster character. And took me like 10 minutes to do something that would have taken me hours to do by hand.
Whoa.
Certainly including drying time, hours of work. And it was like sort of like a breakthrough of the, yeah, it's annoying to have to go down to the garage and set everything up, and then when I'm done, break the machine down and clear it out. But the time saved is like, it's like I can get more. I can get
When
more
it takes
paint.
you a mil. Yeah. Okay, cool.
Sorry,
I'm scared to take that. I paint too, but I'm scared to do the. I mean, one, I don't have a garage or even a good window to paint next to, but I'm scared to make that switch. So good on
we'll
you.
see how it goes because still the mini that I painted was big and it was kind of a glorpy. He's not in range right now, but it's like a mush monster thing. So it was sort of forgiving. It wasn't like trying to paint a face on a thing that's that tall. But
Nobody uses airbrushes for that.
I know, but still, that made me happy. What about you?
Nice. For me, it's Bridgerton season 4 released last night, and we are a lesbian
No.
household over here,
Oh,
and so
I was gonna
no
say
spoilers.
no spoilers.
Did you know there's corsets in Bridgerton? Anyway, I spent the whole time just yelling "mommy" at the screen because there are mommies of various ages, and it's magnificent.
Yeah,
And yeah,
I watched the
a
first
little.
episode too. We had
Oh,
a
cool.
calendar event that just said Bridgerton
Incredible.
in it. I invited my
I got
wife.
an emergency text at like 8 a.m. and it was like, babe, and I was like, oh my god, what's wrong? I go, Bridgerton. It's like, oh my god, it's the 29th. Yeah. So new season looks good.
Yeah,
That's then without giving spoilers. So I also not a lot has really happened.
yeah.
Except
They
there are There are bisexuals, there's corsets, there's mommies. What else could you possibly want? Go watch it
It's the
today.
perfect television show. But yes, back to Adventures in Odyssey. If for no other reason than to give me a break from Marshall Younger's terrible, terrible writing, so I don't have to do another book
Uh,
report.
have you done any more of the reading or?
I've done a little bit of it, and it's pissing me off. I So yeah. Instead of doing another book report because I can't have the third, the four, three of the
Oh, you're
four.
not loving that? You're loving that nightmare prose?
No, I've got to get through another a Dungeons and Dragons, a fantasy book recommended by a feminist podcast to dilute some of that. But yeah, not gonna
Well, when
read.
I, you know what, Eric, when I'm feeling down, I got a book you could read right here. Have you heard about the good
What?
news of John Avery Whitaker? The adventure. This is
Where
the
the
Adventures in
where
Odyssey
the hell
Bible.
did you get that from?
I got it secondhand from a thrift store online thing. Um, and I tried looking up some verses, and they just say sexual relations a lot, which is boring.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was gonna say look up the clobber verses in the. Uh,
But there's comics inside of here, so at some
oh,
point we'll go through and read some of those.
fun. Yeah. I definitely
Wits,
wanna diversify. I enjoyed the diversion into the Blimey cow a lot. So like
uh-huh.
just so we don't get, I don't know, tunnel vision about what was out there. But anyway, yes, this episode was called, what was it called? Where do you learn something? Where do you go to school? Something like
Where do you
that.
go to school? That's what it's called.
Um, and it was for the first time since we've done one of this. I listened to all of the, because as listeners know, we are getting the episodes because we refuse to pay Focus on the Family any money from. They occasionally do a podcast where they release episodes for free because why just release the good news when you can make money off of it. So they release these free episodes, and they're like back catalog kind of things. And so they're like, yeah, this came out in blah blah blah, and so they have these little before and after things. Sometimes they interview like the sound designers or the director or the writers
I
and
mean,
stuff.
usually it's like a minute and a half of just bullshit.
Yeah, but this particular one, they brought in a producer, I believe,
Yeah.
who was talking about this episode. Yeah, because it originally aired in 1989, and it has never been released in a like collection available to buy anywhere. It ran when it ran, and then it hadn't since. This was a fairly old episode of the podcast, so it's been a while. Maybe things have changed. And then they were like, because it was very poorly received, they were like, and all of a sudden I'm like, drama, interesting, let's go it out. So they bring the producer on, and he talks for a couple minutes about. So the premise of the episode is homeschool. Like there's a homeschool family, and there's like the two characters that switch places, so one can see what public school is like, and one is a homeschooled like. And then they describe it that the reason it was poorly received is because it didn't portray homeschooling in a very positive way. And they said it was
Like
because,
I think they specifically said not really positive or accurate. And I was like, what the fuck?
yeah. And then they revealed that when they wrote this episode, and nobody involved in it homeschooled their kids or had been homeschooled or talked to anybody who did homeschooling. So they were just, I guess, making up what it must be like to be homeschooled, which is just wild. I mean,
It's so weird. It's so weird for a Christian, like a evangelical Christian community to have no connection to homeschooling. Like, I don't
well,
know if homeschooling really burst out that much since then, but 1980, it's not 19, if it was like 19 from 1979, I'd be like, I don't think you could homeschool in most places
well,
back then.
I was gonna say, like, if we were a more if we were a better podcast, I suppose we would have like done research and be like, what was the homeschooling landscape like? Was this just a weird thing that like hippies did? And
Hmm.
because again, 1989, this this is an old episode. And so what was the homeschooling landscape like? Both in terms of, I mean, I imagine, like they said that their viewers got viewers, listeners, readers, viewers, listeners. Which sense do we use to consume Odyssey? They said that their listeners like had a bad reaction to it. So again, it's like I have to assume it's inaccurate. So yeah, they were like, no, we did. So we didn't really show it because, and it was just, I mean, even in 1989, Focus on the Family had to have been a established thing to be. And the producer was like, yeah, sometimes what we do here is experimental. And I was like, you're like the like children's Christian radio show, and you're what do you mean you're experimenting?
And we like, I don't know. I'm still like 1989 is a long time ago, like legitimately. But we were homeschooling in like 1995, 1994.
Third grade, so that we would have been what, 8?
Yeah, 94.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, how could it have
I'm
changed?
just like I'm like it's not 10 years before we were homeschooling, and I mean we I have a lot of issues with homeschool. Like to the point where I actually sometimes clash with my current friend, with some of my friends who like I have a friend who is a very secular person who homeschooled her kids for like 2 years in high school just because it like made more sense. She was already staying at home, and it was like it's just very funny because like we I have sorry, I should have thought more about this sort of thing, but
That's
just
okay.
the level of chaos to which we were just kind of like, I guess let's do some math. I like there's curriculum and stuff, and it was like we kind of just did what like it was organized. It was very much not a learning on your own sort of thing, but like no offense to our mom, but our dad was the only one who could teach us like science and math beyond
Yeah, beyond grade school stuff.
pre-algebra.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and he was not he was not good at the act of teaching, because he is knowing a subject and being able to teach the subject are two like
Very
those
different
are
skill.
worlds apart. But
I
anyway,
do. I'm suddenly having this vivid memory of the classroom set up in the basement, where one time I remember Dad pointing at something and going, "Isn't that cool?" And I think I looked at someone and was just like, "No, it's not cool."
my memory from, I'm pretty sure the exact same setup that you're talking about, was him pointing at the blackboard and going, "It makes perfect sense to me." Like, yeah, that's why we're learning it.
You got a master's in math on accident once. Of course, it makes sense to you.
It should make sense
Anyway,
to you. But yeah, so yeah, yeah, we have thoughts on. We keep talking about sometime we'll like go through sort of our, I don't know, impressions on stuff. Maybe that
lore.
yeah, the lore of the twins, the tomato lore drop, and the but this episode, let's talk a little bit about the episode, because I have thoughts. Let's get sort of the basically what happens is, a family comes into Wits End and is having the impossibly saccharine that I'm really feeling, these interactions with Mr. Whitaker at Wits End that feel kind of, I sort of hate that I'm like, oh, this is early Odyssey, because the sort of, I don't know, the grandfatherliness of Whitaker was sort of more emphasized versus sort of a more, I don't know if that makes sense, grandfatherly versus like patriarchal sort of a thing. Maybe it's
Yeah, no, he's like a friendly old man who runs the place, and
um
the kids. They used a phrase at some point. It was like where it's like Whitaker talked about Wits End being a place where kids can relax and get a drink. Of course, he's talking about sodas and milkshakes, but I'm just like, yeah, the stressful day kids have. Ah,
put her there, Wit.
the usual wit. Double
Ch-
chocolate soda. What the
sounds so
fuck is a
gross.
chocolate
It
soda?
sounds so gross. Carbonation in chocolate should not be a thing. I will
It does
die on
not.
that hill. But anyway, his family comes in and they're having this conversation, And one of the kids,
Dark chocolate LaCroix is going to be my new gamer tag.
because you're just a little bit bitter,
Play
but you're not bitter.
because I'm bitter. I'm bubbly, but also bitter.
Bubbly and bitter. Actually, that'd be a good name, tag too. Anyway, dear God, we are all over the place. You shouldn't get us started on things that aren't Odyssey.
Who's got ADHD?
We do.
We
Um,
do.
so the family comes in and is talking with Whitaker, and one of the kids talks about a new friend that they met. Which now do you remember where they said they met? Because I'm like, where the hell did they meet if not at school? Because what starts throwing the adults is they're like, hey, this my new friend goes to I forget the name, like
McAllister Elementary School.
Lingberger Elementary, and all the adults are like, what? There's only one school. I haven't heard of a new school. Whatever. Ever.
Oh,
And then
I work for a school district and I don't know all the elementary schools.
well,
There's so many.
well, considering the fact that the actual school is called Odyssey Elementary and Odyssey Middle School, kind of a thing. Odyssey is it must be a small town.
Yeah,
Um,
sure.
And so they're all like, "Where is this? I've not heard about this school. That's odd." And then the other family comes in and they introduce themselves and they're like, "Hi, we're Mr. and Mrs. Lindbergh." And everyone goes, "Lindbergh?" And they're like, "Oh," and then they figure out. I kind of expected it to become more of a thing where it's like the kids are sort of lying to other kids because they're like embarrassed or just don't want to be different. But they're like, we go to this middle school or this elementary school rather than saying we're homeschooled. So then they all oh, homeschool, what's that? Which, oh my God, diversion. The first like 10 times everybody in this episode says homeschooled. Like to me, that's how you say it. You go, oh, homeschooled. But they say homeschooled. They put this weird like second word emphasis on it. I was just like, it feels very, I don't know, like they're trying to
Too much tuna.
Ooh, what is this? Shampoo?
Shampoo?
Never heard of it. But so then they start talking. They're like, "Oh, nice to meet you. Welcome to the town, I guess." Oh, that's interesting how it goes. And of course, the kids are being very kids like about, "Wow, you don't have to go to school," which was just sort of a weird thing to be like. No, like I remember being homeschooled and be like, I wouldn't like, yeah, I got it easy because I have to do 5 to 6 hours of schoolwork at home instead of going to a different building to do it. Like it's not like there's nothing to do or something, but that's the way they were sort of the kids were like framing it, and they weren't getting pushed back from the homeschooled people. And then they were like, oh, I guess, boy, that's interesting. And Whitaker has some very weirdly phrased thing about the grass is green. They've got like the grass is greener syndrome.
Grass is always greener disease.
Yeah, yeah.
Cool. You crushed it. What a smooth turn of phrase.
Yeah, it's not like there's a better way to say that already exists. That uses almost all of those words. Then these two families who are strangers to each other are like,
my God,
hey,
this part.
Let's trade kids for a day. And one of the kids will go to the public school kid will go to this stranger's house and be homeschooled for a day, and then the other kid will go to the public school. Which
Eric, you have children, right?
Yeah, I definitely
you have a children, don't you?
I have
How much
1 to 30 children.
1 to 30 children. How long after meeting a adult? With no point of reference, to the point where you wouldn't even recognize their last name, would you give them your child? 5 minutes? It's not even 5 minutes. 3.5 minutes?
Yeah, that's not as long as this one. Yeah, no.
Is it more or less than 3.5 minutes? And I know we're compressing time, so is it like 9 minutes?
Yeah, I'd say once you hit the double digit minutes, there's no way you could possibly have ulterior motives or be a
so you don't trust people, is what you're saying. What the fuck is this idea? For me, and again, because I work for a school district, I was immediately like, you can't just start going to a school. That's not how this ever works.
Everyone's
I'm pretty
gonna be
sure
like,
that's not how it ever worked.
Like, hey, who the hell is that? This is day 130 of the school year, and I don't know who. I've never seen that kid in my life.
I
Like,
can almost see it being a thing where the teachers were like, "Who is that?" It's like, shoot, we should really know these kids' names by now. No, I feel like I've never seen it. It's like, of course you've seen them. What, did this kid just start today? No, come on, it's
don't be ridiculous.
February.
This would be crazy. And I don't know. It's like I feel in a slightly Stockholm syndrome way that I am becoming more like generous to the show as we continue to watch it. In a lot of ways we are, except for fucking Mr. Whitaker. He is more sinister every time. Where he's sitting there being like,
Why don't you trade children?
yeah, hey, why don't you trade children? I can pull some strings at Odyssey Elementary to.
So creepy. That
What the
phrase hit in my ears so weird.
What are you talking about? You're
I can get some
blackmailing
administrators to look the other way.
to sneak a child into school. Yeah, the teachers don't know. Maybe there's a reason that this kid isn't in school. Maybe they're dangerous or just Mr. Whitaker's like, oh, let me get my fingers in all of these pies sort of level of
Well,
thing.
even the way he was like, because the public school girl's dad was like, I've not heard of that school, and Wit mentions, I haven't heard anything about them building a new school at the city council meetings I go to. I'm like, you don't need to do all this. You don't need to know anything. Which
I'll
one?
quote
You seem
Mr.
to
Whitaker.
always be working.
Mr.
Yeah.
Whitaker sitting in the back of the city council meeting, and they're like, and the resolution, and he's like, and they're all like, fail. Yeah.
Mm.
The increase of commercial property taxes that would unfortunately affect Wits End fails. Finally.
Oh,
And
crazy.
he's like, your secret remains hidden, Mr. Chairman. But yeah, so Wit is like, hey, guess what? You guys can switch places. Again, in this way that is like so weird for Odyssey. They skip right to the boring parts, which is like the homeschooled girl is like at school and has her first interaction is just like, wow, look at all these kids, like look at all these kids to play with, which again, in terms of like making it bad, it's like, what, do they not let play with other, do not go to parks and stuff? Like, how do they not, how is the
I mean,
prospect of
maybe.
seeing, maybe, or at least that's what the writers of this episode seem to think about homeschooled kids. And they're like, yeah, we should, yeah, oh my gosh, look at all of these children, like a kid in a candy store. She's like, look at all these kids to play with, and a ball bounces over, and they're like, oh, you don't know how to play this game? We should play at recess. And they're, oh my gosh, what fun! And then they all go to class. Then they skip to a scene where she's like reading the like schedule, and it's like, wow, this is so cool. Look at, like, we get to do history and science and math and English and PE. Like, we get to do all of these things. And then everyone's like, do you not do that at home? And then they cut to the girl.
Jesus Christ.
I don't remember the name. Remember the homeschool girl's name was Esther, but then the public school girl, I don't remember what her name was.
Jesse?
I don't think it was Jessie. But it
matter.
was someone. They said she was in 5th grade, and she sounded like she was 6. Like, all the kids sounded way too young for the
Yeah, which kind of made, like, that feels like an older Odyssey thing.
she's there with the mom, and she's like, all right, here we go, we're ready to start school. And the mom goes, how about we just talk for a little bit? And I'm like, what? And she's like, yeah, what's going on in your life? And she goes,
This is mad. This, I weirdly started to feel a little, like, offended as a homeschool. I was like, all she does is stay with you. She stays at home all the time. What do you mean, what's new with her? Like,
yeah,
I was here yesterday.
This wouldn't be the format that you would use to speak with your child, because she lives with you, and she goes to school with you in your own home. So yeah, why would you start with a who didn't take 5 minutes to think about this? And even like what's the again now I'm curious to be like, what was the perception of homeschool or the reasons behind homeschooling in the late 80s?
Could the boomers writing this just not imagine like getting to know your children? Did they think that that's why homeschool children and parents like know each other so well? Like it's because they spend all their time together. Like
Yeah, you spend
I
16
don't
hours a
know.
day.
It was so weird.
Yeah, let's talk about this. It just the weird naivete that they placed upon homeschool people, because the mom was then like, well, what happened yesterday? They set up this sort of a little bit funny joke, I guess, where it's like, what happened to you? And she goes, I beat my friend Katie yesterday. And she goes, what? She goes, yeah, she was red and I beat her real bad. And she goes, what? And it's like, yeah, how else are you supposed to win checkers? It's like, ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba. And you're
That
like,
that joke. It was funny because I was like the mom where I was like, "You beat your
you
that's a weird friend to do it." And then when the mom was like, "You what?" I was like, okay, mom's on the same. Like, what are you?
I picked up that obviously she was talking about some sort of game or competition, but like just the fact that you would, I mean, like I understand, like you going, wait, what do you mean? And she goes, yeah, I beat my friend Katie. And it's like, okay, from context clues, can't you, you don't, you don't typically use the frame, beat, I'll get on your friends. Like, couldn't you just put it together and be like, okay, some sort of game, even if you're not like, you're like checkers. What is that?
Heckars.
So then what do? They cut to, then they go back to the,
They cut to the homeschooled girl in public school, like has a breakdown because they're not gonna do talking time in school, and she like mourns the loss of this time, and I was like,
yeah,
okay. Like I don't have much to say about it. I'm just like, yeah, she goes, aren't we gonna talk? And he's like, no, we're gonna do school.
the
And
thing
she's
that
like,
you were excited about
aw,
5 minutes ago to do,
aw, no talking time. It's like,
which
what is
by the time you're in fifth grade, it kind of feels like it would be like a maintenance sort of thing, not like a, hey, tell me something. I don't know. Like, mom, we've been doing this for
we've been doing this for
five
7 years.
thousand 5,000 straight days. We've been having talks. I don't. The recesses of my being are open to you. You know everything about me. Oh, I was thinking about death a lot lately. Like, and then they cut to they cut back to the public school girl with the homeschooler, and they're apropos of nothing on a field trip to a firehouse, which I'm just like, where did that come from? And
Yeah,
they're
it's
talking with the most fuddy duddy firefighter ever, and then they go, there's this whole, boy, they love just describing the most physical act that happens in this entire thing, which is them sliding down a pole, and they need to make sure that you understand every step of the way. Put your arms around the pole. Now wrap your right leg around, and you push off with your other leg, and make sure to hold on tight. And I'm just like, why do we have 45 seconds describing on a radio program describing sliding down a fire pole?
you that there. I saved you 45 seconds.
Yeah, there we go. Hey, good job.
Yeah, the man just like pushes the mom, like the little girl's excited to go down the pole, and who wouldn't be? That's fun to do. And then he like makes the mom do it somehow.
Does he? I thought he asked and then she didn't, because
No, he no, because that was some of the funny. He's like, oh yeah, here you go. All right, 3, 2, 1, and she's like, oh.
oh, maybe I wasn't paying attention. But then the fire
It
alarm,
wasn't entertaining. It was just
my
assault. I don't know.
the cerebral immune response is like protecting me by refusing to absorb some of the more inane things that happens in these episodes.
The alarm goes off, and they go to capture a cat or get a cat out of a tree. Which why is the alarm going off for that?
Yeah,
Oh no, the guy makes a joke about it. He's like, oh, normally I wouldn't set the alarm off, but I thought it would make the field trip more exciting. And I'm like, it did. Good job. Honestly.
it activates like the tornado alarm or something. How thrilling! Uh,
Yay!
and then they go. So then they go to the Miss McGillicuddy's house, and the cat's stuck in a tree again.
I
And
will say this to give old Odyssey some credit. I love a hilarious name. What's the cat's name?
Petunia?
It's like Lamperson or something.
Oh,
Gustav or something. I like a side character with a hilarious name. McGillicuddy is very funny. Sorry to all the McGillicuddies out there. Your name is hilarious. Good
your
job.
name is hysterical. But and then there's this whole thing, which again is like, what does this have to do with homeschooling?
Homeschooling.
But because there's two firefighters and one of them is allergic to cats, so they can't go up. And then the little girl is like, "I'll go up the ladder." I'm just sitting here
They're
going,
like, sure.
lawsuit. Here we go. You let
Lawsuit time.
us.
Why didn't the other man go up the ladder? Was there a reason?
I'm too old to go up the ladders, which is definitely why I should be collecting a salary as a firefighter. If I'm too old to go up a ladder, sounded like he was 100 years old. And then we get our department sued for letting a 6-year-old fifth grader climb up a ladder in pure violation of our insurance policy. I don't know. I feel like I missed newspapers, like growing up. I never really like got them. I never really read a newspaper or something, because part of the framing of this whole thing is the public school kid's dad is a writer for the newspaper and wants to do like a
Oh, he's narrating it because he's writing an article about the experience.
right. And I'm just sitting there going like, because at the very beginning he comes into Wit's End and is like, just trying to decide what my next piece is going to be about. And Wit's like, hey, he's like, you could write about us. And I'm like, oh yeah, okay, that's a thing you say. And then he goes, nah, I've written about this place too many times. Like my editor's gonna, will be mad if I do. And I'm like, what kind of fluff journalism like is going on that you write multiple articles about like a soda shop, library community center, and now you're doing one about two kids switching, the most boring story ever about two kids switching.
The soda well has run dry.
And and apparently this is a full-time job for
I was listening to another podcast where someone was talking, like they were reviewing some old movie where someone traveled somewhere and like stayed in a hotel to do research for a newspaper article, and they were like, imagine when people had budgets for this.
$150 a day, for several days to write one newspaper article
For a 500-word article.
about two kids switching school. Yeah, it was weird. Oh, what the hell else happened in this episode?
So the next thing about public school is musical instruments, which I don't know a single homeschool kid that wasn't learning some musical instrument. So the homeschool kid is acting like she's never seen a musical instrument before, has never heard of orchestra, can't conceive that these are instruments you could learn how to play, and she's like, there's a really, it's like so clearly supposed to be, they're trying to show that all the kids are bored by this assembly, but
the homeschool kid is interested because she's never been to an assembly, and yeah, like you say, apparently never seen a musical instrument in her life. And he's like, next is the violins, and okay, and
which the most synth board instruments I've ever. I'm not good at picking this kind of thing up, and I was just like, oh god, like
yeah, this is an
no one
80s
had
synthesizer.
yeah. Oh, beautiful.
This one scale is
So
violins, and this one is the violas, and this one is
there's
the cellos.
down a whole octave.
Yeah, then that octave is the cellos.
And then there's a whole thing where she learns how to, like, they get her an instrument, which one, you had to rent that shit back then. So they just immediately have an instrument for her. And they all play and they're all bad because of course they are. And cool.
We were sort of talking a little bit before about like the lack of thought that went into this episode. This is a subject that we are very critical of. The homeschooling process ourselves, and I'm sitting here going like, boy, we did not get a fair shake in that episode. Just the way that they framed everything, and just like what the hell was going on at Focus on the Family that they would do this sort of thing.
Yeah, I feel like within 10 years of this episode coming out, they were fully making homeschooled curriculum. They say in the interview that every single person who works on the podcast now were all homeschooled. So it's like, what the hell was that? Like, it actually might be an interesting episode for us to look into, but like, when did homeschooling go from this? When did the political right wing, which was already starting to coalesce into the thing that it is now and the thing that is actively ruining our country, when did homeschooling become a part of that? And
Yeah,
when did school stop being a instrument of government power and propaganda and start being a thing? And I mean, could it be that the right wing was is like hypocritical and says one thing and does another? No,
no,
that
no,
doesn't sound
no.
right.
Yeah, yeah. I get again from the environment we are in for a sort of religious thing to be painting homeschooling as this weird, ineffective kind of thing, which again perhaps was sort of unintentional, as they kind of frame it as we didn't know anything about homeschooling, so we just wrote some stuff, or it wasn't even them trying to make homeschool look bad, but the idea of something like Adventures in Odyssey not being lockstep in with the with the parents going, sometimes, even subtle stuff of, I don't always approve of the curriculum at Odyssey, Odyssey, but it just seems like so hard. And then the parents are like, oh, but it's actually not so hard. The relationships you have with your children and the control you have over the curriculum and make sure they have like good values. Like it was so devoid of anything like positive. Literally, I was at the end being like, I'm sitting here going, we don't have enough for an episode here. Like, I need something. Okay, Chris, give me a Bible verse and I'll go and like read some context. Not even a Bible verse. Chris is just
Nope,
like,
no Bible verses.
we have.
I got this fucking Bible for nothing. Here, I'll read us a Bible verse. Nope, that's the New Testament. That's boring. All right, Isaiah 28, verse 1. At the time the Lord will judge Leviathan, the gliding snake. He will punish Leviathan, the coiled snake. The Lord will use his great sword, his hard and powerful sword. He will kill the monster in the sea. There's a Bible verse for you. I can't
Hell
believe that's
yeah.
the one I turned to.
I have Dungeons and Dragons tonight, and that's the hype up I needed. But yeah,
Incredible.
at the very end, yeah, Chris is like, well, that sure was an episode, and we have the best teacher of all, Jesus. Adventures in Odyssey was produced by blah blah blah.
We were talking before about why this episode is so ineffective and why the subject matter is so alien to them, and yet they did no research or anything. And it honestly, I think, speaks to this as a propaganda project first and entertainment second. Because they did, like, I would say that for an Odyssey episode, it was relatively entertaining. We were completely baffled by the mechanics of kids going to, them trading children and just, trusting strangers and the actual content of it. But like, it's an entertaining thing. But
If their point was to be entertaining, there'd be a okay to be like actually entertaining, especially if we want people who are homeschooled people to not be like, oh, they're just making fun of us. We need to understand what we do first, and then we can make good parody comes from a place of love, not a place of disdain. But sort of
yeah,
in
because then
that
you're just
line,
mocking.
if they understood homeschooling better, they could make funnier jokes about, where would I start with things about the
This
kids
came
having.
up in the this came up in the Blimey Cow episode, where the very, very early stuff, we could see that they were lovingly making jokes about internal, like secular different or sectarian differences and references to stuff. They weren't just like, I'm a Christian and I hate MTV or something like that. They were like making jokes about that, which was an entertainment product first and they were just writing what they knew,
They
so they
happen to
didn't
be
know what. Yeah,
fairly conservative Christian people, and so the subject matters happen to be that. But they were, like you said, trying to make something that was an entertainment first. But yeah, Odyssey, very different sort of thing, and they're, I mean, I'm sure at some degree too, they're like, well, we got it. We need an episode. What's something easy?
I mean, so I we just finished watching Star Trek Lower Decks, which is an animated comedic Star Trek show about people who are not the. I mean, there are captains and stuff involved, but it mainly focuses on the and
Not the
it
bridge
you know
crew.
what is it? It is a Star Trek show. It is a comedy, and it is made with a level of giddy love for the source material and the context and the joke, and it's just you know, comparing an episode of a Christian radio show to a modern animated thing, I know it's not that big of a difference. And we're kind of beating a dead horse at this point, being like, hey, they didn't know what the fuck they were talking about. Like they
Hey,
did
this is a bad
eventually
show.
20 years later admit that it was a bad episode.
Yeah, 15 years ago they said this 20-year-old episode wasn't very good, and it's like, yeah, you would sort of hope that the form would have evolved a little bit. This may have nothing to do with anything, but there's something that I've sort of nailed down a little bit, that's sort of the difference between like right and left wing thing, that I think this is sort of an offshoot of, was like left wing tends to look for reasons to do things, and right wing kind of looks for excuses. Which is sort of
Hmm.
like the difference of a comedic approach is like, let's learn about this thing so we you can poke fun at it in a sort of educated way, versus, hey, this thing
Or
is weird.
there's a problem with this. Let's learn about it and make some criticisms about it. Versus the
Versus,
right wing of I want to
hey,
criticize this.
yeah, maybe in 1989, because I feel like, especially like decades earlier than this, even this episode would have come out, homeschooling was almost exclusively like a hippy dippy,
Yeah.
I don't want the government reprogramming my children sort of a thing, which is super funny because then it came back around, and then it was right wing people being like, I don't want the government reprogramming my good little Christian soldiers, sort of a thing. Maybe that's what it was. There's some 50-year-old person who the only people, some 50-year-old producer said, write an episode about homeschooling because I think it's weird, because when I was 10, I went camping and met a homeschool family, and they were weird hippies, and my dad hated hippies, so I hate hippies now too. But yeah, it's just like the different approach to thing that makes this ultimately a pretty bad episode.
I
So
love
it wouldn't be
capitalism.
a episode of Talking to Tomatoes without us ending and going, that was a weird one.
That was a
Uh,
weird one.
that was a weird one. That should be the tagline
We're
of,
gonna find an absolute banger. It's gonna rule one of these days.
yeah,
We'll
one of these
find
days we're
out.
gonna be like, that was awesome.
I need to find out which one was
Eugene Goes to
that
Hell.
kid who just appeared in no, well that one too. But like there's one where I listened to like 15 minutes of it and the kid just appeared in the cockpit of a B-29 over Germany and he's like, change course. And they're like, yes, sir. And I'm like, what's he doing?
Okay, I was gonna say, maybe next episode we you pull open that Bible and we talk about the comics in it.
I
Um,
kind of want to find that one. It
but
was in the list of free episodes.
yeah, or but that sounds more entertaining. Maybe we'll do that one next time. In the meantime, you can follow us on some of the social medias. The podcast itself is being released on YouTube, Talking to Tomatoes. We're also on TikTok at Talking to Tomato, I believe, because we couldn't get the S.
Yes. Yep.
Uh, uh,
Someone beat us to it.
Otherwise, you can also follow us individually. I am Eric.Eberly on TikTok. Also,
And
you can
I'm
find me on. Hang on, I'm not done. You can also find me at Eric Eberly, no dot, on Upscrolled, the Palestinian owned alternative to TikTok. We'll see how it goes.
and you can
And
find me on TikTok at Titan of Joy.
talk to you later, tomatoes.
I don't have a Chris thing to do, sorry.
No Chris thing to do. I'm Chris. There should be a Bible verse
Oh,
here.
here it is. I'm Chris. Rest in piss, Dr. Dobson.
There we go. Classic.